What up, Wizards? It's Dev, SPMTG. We like it in Magic, coming to you from the lab for a quick one that should be a lot of fun. But first things first, I want to congratulate your winner and the new Magic the Gathering World Champion, Yuta Takahashi. He actually just won the World Championship, and then I turned around to record this video. They were interviewing him. What are they doing? It's just Maria's talking right now. But anyway, the reason that I wanted to wait until right after the World Championship to record this video is because it has a little bit, in some ways, to do with the World Championship meta. Now, about a week ago, you remember when that was a meme for about a week? Anyway, I put a poll on Twitter that asked a super simple question. Do we ban Alrund's Epiphany? You knew the video was going to be about that. Not just from the title and thumbnail, I'm sure that clued you in. But anyway, if we're talking about banning a card in Standard right now, it's probably the one that lets you take extra turns. It's not like we've never been here before, have we, Wizards of the Coast? But anyway, the poll was fairly simple. Do we ban Alrund's Epiphany? 4 choices. Immediately ban this card. Wait until after the World Championships. Wait until after Crimson Vow. Or never ever ban the card. And honestly, I was thinking when I made the poll that wait until after the World Championships or wait until after Crimson Vow. One of those two would be the most popular, would win the poll. But now, let's look at how the poll ended up. Isn't that funny? This is how polarized the community can get sometimes. The winning option is with 40%. That's a lot of people. Almost half of the respondents. 450 plus people. Almost half the respondents said, yeah, immediately ban this card. We're sick of it. It's bad. It's ridiculous. Extra turn spells shouldn't be in Standard right now. And then the other most popular option, look at that, is never ever ban this card. Ever. Under any circumstances. Possibly one of the more unreasonable options, to be honest. Right there along with immediately. And yeah, I know that by saying that I've made like 70% of respondents to the poll kind of angry. sort of just made everyone mad, no matter what side of the issue that you're on. But honestly, I feel like waiting until after the World Championships and seeing how things shook out, pretty good option. Wait until after Crimson Vow, see if there's anything that cuts down Alrund's Epiphany. Probably a decent option, but no. Already people feel very strongly about this on both sides, and I'm not too surprised. It seems to be how things work. This is the internet. Now, I'm fully aware that as a content creator on that very same internet, I am expected even to come out hardline, defend my prints, take one stance or the other, die on the hill and all that. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but if you've been with the channel for a while, I don't tend to do that. First of all, I really like data-driven answers to things, just in life in general. And we don't really have a whole lot of that. I mean, the best data that we have is the fact that 10 out of 16 players brought Alrund's Epiphany to the World Championships. I think there were 30 plus copies of Alrund's Epiphany all throughout these, 16 decks, and you add it all up. And that's a lot. That's a lot. Alrund's Epiphany very well may be the most powerful card in the format, but I don't know that a card being the most powerful card in the format is necessarily the same thing as an argument for banning. Now, of course, on the other hand, full disclosure, and there's going to be a lot of that in this video on the other hand, I do appreciate nuance, but on the other hand, full disclosure, I am sick of Alrund's Epiphany. I am. I hate when opponents, Galvanic Iteration copy Alrund's Epiphany. I always use the Mind Flayer eye roll emote. Oh, God, this again. And on stream, when we run into it, I make fun of it. Like, oh, my God, have you guys ever seen this? What a ridiculous combo. I've never seen this before. How innovative. What a brewer. I'm just having fun with it. I'm trying to make content for laughs and all that stuff. So Alrund's Epiphany in a way is a content mine. At the same time, I'm obviously not a huge fan of having to play against this card all the time, and it always does feel like opponent has done nothing but stall. They don't have a real game plan. Just play Alrund's Epiphany, win the game. Chain Epiphanies, win game. And that does get old. It seems like easy mode and all that stuff. But again, even though I personally, along with a lot of the rest of you, am just kind of sick of seeing the card, I'm still not sure that is in and of itself a real argument for banning the card. On my other hand, I have at least 6 hands, you'll see. I have to hide them during videos, but you'll see I have so many hands. On the other hand, is that not why we ban cards typically? Is that they're not fun to play against? There's lots of reasons to ban cards. And some of those reasons include, too much meta share and all that. But a lot of too much meta share funnels back into these cards aren't fun to play against, especially if that's literally all I'm playing against. And the World Championship meta, it had mono white, it had mono green, it had the green-red splash blue for negate deck made the finals. Jean-Emmanuel Depraz did really, really well with that deck. No Alrund Epiphany in the entire deck. However, that said, Yuta Takahashi, again, congratulations, my dude, made it all the way to the finals without winning or without losing a single match of Standard the entire time, playing the Alrund's Epiphanies. But I will say, in the finals, I don't think he played a single Alrund's Epiphany the entire time, so let's take that into account too. But still, point stands that like any other top 16 in the world that came to, this isn't really a top 16, there are only 16 competitors at the event, but anytime you have 16 decks at a very high class event, it doesn't get much higher than this, right? And 10 of those decks are playing multiple copies of the same card. Although the Azor's Tempo deck only played one copy in the main deck, but still, you get what I'm saying. When you have 30 plus Alrund's Epiphanies spread across 10 decks in a field of only 16, any other event like that, it would really give you pause. Before you even saw the results of the event, just that kind of meta saturation, especially among the best players in the world, should cause any player, and Wizards of the Coast in particular, by the way, to think about why that is and whether or not action needs to be taken. Because I don't think that bans are necessarily a bad thing, and that's where we get to the other part of the argument. How many hands am I on at this point? But still, I'm trying to cover my bases and sort of look at it from everyone's perspective, and I'm sure I'm going to miss something here. But still, I know that when I have brought this up on stream or when I bring it up on Twitter or whatever, the banning of Alrund's Epiphany, I get a lot of people who say some version of ban's bad. And I know that, again, it's not so simple as that, but it all boils down to ban's bad a lot of the time. We just had how many bans in Throne of Eldraine Standard, and that just made Standard like the worst thing ever. Bans haven't had a good recent history. And I'll say that bans haven't had a great recent history, but bans haven't had the worst history when you go back more than a year or so. Sometimes bans can be a really healthy thing for a meta. Bans in a lot of ways revitalized the Kaladesh meta, the Ether Revolt meta, really. And I enjoyed I think a lot of players like those bans. Hell, I think a lot of players like the Oko ban. A lot of players like the Omnath ban. A lot of players like this, Fires of Invention ban, or whatever. So we wouldn't have bans if people didn't call for them in the first place. There's a reason cards get banned, and very often that starts with a sort of grassroots, social media, like, I hate this card. And I think that's what a lot of people don't like, is that, this perception that, it's just people whining on Twitter or whining on Reddit. And I hate that word, by the way. I cannot stand the word whining. But that's how they put it. But, you have people rightfully complaining, as I would put it, on social media platforms about how much they hate interacting with or seeing a certain card like so much. And you have a lot of people complain about that because they see these people as, they're not willing to get good. They're not willing to suck it up. And these are always going to be horrible arguments to me, like horrible sounding, just my gut reaction. People are like, suck it up, Buttercup, learn to play, and blah. Those are ghoulish. Those aren't even really arguments. So, I think that people go on social media and go on Reddit and whatnot and complain about the cards that need to be complained about a lot of the time. I mean, I would have not have liked to play in a format with Oko. So I'm glad that so many people took to Twitter or Facebook or whatever and were like, hey, Oko is a little much, isn't it? Do you think Oko's... It's kind of a lot. And so Wizards of the Coast was like, yeah, it's a lot. We've seen how much it is. So let's ban that. You're right. You guys are right. So, the community doesn't come together and want to ban a card like we did with Oko. Like every day, everyone wanted that card banned. Cue the person in the comment sections like, I liked Oko. And there's going to be like 4 or 5 of you. I know. But the majority does matter. It's not, I guess you can't say that it's strictly a democracy, but I'd like for it to resemble one. And I think the majority of players wanted Oko banned, but do the majority of players want Alrund's Epiphany banned? Do they? The results of like one Twitter poll that one medium-sized YouTuber does, not really the best sample size, even if it's 450 votes. The majority did want the card banned, but again, that's not necessarily scientific at all. And I'm sure you'll let me know in the comment section whether or not you would like Alrund's Epiphany banned. And I don't think they're going to make like an emergency ban announcement on Monday morning or anything. Like, Alrund's Epiphany's banned in Standard. The sky is falling. It's not going to be that at all, in fact. If anything, if they make an announcement in the next couple of weeks, I would expect the opposite of that. Or something like, we're monitoring Alrund's Epiphany and stuff, blah, blah, blah. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if, because of the World Championships, there was like a huge uptick in the amount of arena play that the Alrund's Epiphany decks see. And they already see it an awful lot. So I wouldn't be surprised if they not only see the data from the World Championships, but they also see data from Arena, and that spooks them a little bit. They're like, oh, 28% of Arena players are on Alrund's Epiphany. That's a little much. So that might cause them to give them pause, But either way, I guess ultimately, I haven't made a cut in a while, have I? I am great at making YouTube videos. But anyway, in the end, I think that sometimes it's okay as a content creator, and this isn't what the video is about. Make no mistake, but I think sometimes it's okay as a content creator to say, I don't know right now. I think that's important, not just as a content creator, it's just important in life. Again, back to what I said a few minutes ago there, a lot of people, especially on the internet, are so quick to come to a conclusion and then hold that stance forever. no matter what, evidence to the contrary be damned and all that. And I think that sometimes in situations like this, and even in like much more serious situations that don't have to deal with Magic the Gathering, it is sometimes better to be able to say that you don't know. And I haven't necessarily, and I'm sorry if you came to this video looking for somebody that's like, this is my opinion and I'm right. And I know that's the internet again. And I would like to think that maybe you'd have more respect for somebody that's like, I'm not going to tell you that I have the answers on this one. Again, it's a card that, let me put it this way, because I haven't said this yet. If I woke up on Monday or Tuesday morning and Wizards had banned Alrund's Epiphany, I'd be like, okay. I might even be like, okay, like, I would be fine with it. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to like go all out, advocate for the ban, or hunger strike. It's really not that level. Like, if I have to keep playing around Alrund's Epiphany, I will keep playing around Alrund's Epiphany and against Alrund's Epiphany, and I will not love it, but it's not the same, right now at least, as playing against Fires of Invention, a card that's like nearly impossible to go underneath, or Oko, a card that's nearly impossible to go underneath or around in just about any way. So, I don't think that Epiphany is at that level. I will say, Saffron Olive wrote a really good article over on MTG Goldfish today talking about Spectral Bears, a card that I think about a lot. It's because it was actually, even though if you read the card it doesn't look like it, it was one of the better cards in all of Homelands. This saw main deck play for a good long time in the Stompy decks of that era because it was a 2-mana 3/3 and we just never seen anything like that. Even if it has to freeze every other turn, that's totally fine. The article is kind of about power creep and how back in the day you could have a 5-mana spell like Time Warp that says take an extra turn. It wasn't actually that consequential, but nowadays we have threats that aren't like Spectral Adversaries, Spectral Bears or whatever. We do have Spectral Adversary. That's a card that exists now. But yeah, Spectral Bears. Things have gotten much better than that, right? Like right now, we have Werewolf Pack Leader, if you want to compare to a card that's like Spectral Bears. I thought this was really interesting because, again, Time Warp, 5 mana. Take an extra turn after this one. Great rate, right? Didn't really do much. I mean, it was played, right? But it wasn't at the level of like a Nexus of Fate or an Alrund's Epiphany. It wasn't a problem card in the format, and that's because the payoff for an extra turn wasn't as good back when creatures and threats weren't as good, back before there were planeswalkers. They got you free value every single turn. Back before, you had extremely overstated threats like we have in Standard now. Before you had playlines like Goldspan Dragon into Alrund's Epiphany, right? So they just basically win the game on the spot. So again, I thought this was a really interesting and well-written article, so I'll leave a link to that in the description if you want to check that out. So I think that's well-written. I think that that's the reason extra turn spells are hard to print into standard nowadays is because the other spells in standard, the other threats and whatnot are so good that taking an extra turn is unbelievable at this point. And I can totally, I totally get where he's coming from. I thought that was a really, really good, well put point. So like with that in mind, extra turn spells in general might just be like too good for standard. If all the other cards in standard are going to be so freaking good. Like they might just be too good no matter what the rate. We saw Nexus of Fate get banned. And it's funny, I mean, a lot of us made jokes when we saw Alrund's Epiphany. Like, oh, well, this is going to get banned. You can't print extra turn spells. And I guess every content creator on the internet was validated because we pretty much all at least made that joke, if not we're totally serious about it. You know, I will say that Kaldheim is probably the most powerful pound for pound set in standard. If it's not, you know, Midnight Hunt, then it is very likely Kaldheim. And Alrund's Epiphany is far and away the most powerful card in all of Kaldheim. And I think that does make Alrund's Epiphany the most powerful card in all of standard. But does that mean it's ban worthy? Not necessarily, but I guess for what it's worth, I'll say this again. They ban Alrund's Epiphany tomorrow, I'll be like, on the low, slightly, I'll be like, yes. But that doesn't mean I'm advocating for it. I don't know if we're at that point yet, but I also don't think bans are, this is kind of a summary of the video, I also don't think bans are in and of themselves a good or bad thing. I think that there's objectively good bans, objectively bad bans. If you look back over the last year or two of standard and look at all the stuff that we banned, it's all stuff that like, I was fine with them banning. They just printed way too many good cards. They printed way too many over the top, balls out, stupidly good cards in Eldraine standard. And that's not as much of a problem. It feels, though, like Alrund's Epiphany is kind of a remnant from the last standard. You know, this uber powerful card that can do stupid things, win the game by itself. This top end that if you make it to, you just win the game immediately, sort of. So, you know, again, it does kind of feel like a holdover from the old standards. So, in a lot of ways, like, I just really wouldn't mind if it was gone. But at the same time, I think that a card does need to get to a certain level of nuisance before it's banned. And I'm just not sure that it's there yet, mostly because we just don't have like the data for that, and we're only a few weeks away from Crimson Vow spoiler season, so maybe something in Crimson Vow can combat this in some way or another. You never know what kind of sideboard piece there might be. So I think that it's possible to, because a lot of people have had the point, you know, oh, they can't print something that's too that beats Alrund's Epiphany. That's just not true. I mean, they have the entire design space of Magic the Gathering. You can literally print a card that says like hexproof indestructible, players can't cast spells named Alrund's Epiphany. They won't do that. But just think about like how much design space they have available. They could totally print something that cheeses Alrund's Epiphany to the point that it's unplayable. They could print multiple cards that do that. So, you know, I also think there's something to be said for Yuta Takahashi's deck. Back to this to kind of bookend the video a little bit because I'm almost done. I think there's something to be said for Takahashi winning every single match of Standard that he played all weekend, and he had the deck with the most counter spells in it. They're playing Alrund's Epiphany out there. Play counter spells. Right? I mean, that seems pretty obvious. So it's not like there aren't ways to beat the card in Standard, but, you know, not everybody wants to play counter spells. In that case, go underneath. You can do, it's possible, but, or is it? Right. We saw mono green and mono white try to go underneath this weekend. It just didn't work. So who knows? But in any case, I'm sure that you're going to tell me one way or the other. But this is a good forum to let me know how you feel about this particular subject, because you're going to hear a little bit about it over the next week or so, depending on how long it takes them to ban or make a definitive announcement that they're not going to ban it, right? So let me know how you feel down there. Should we ban this card? Do you hate it? Keep in mind, by the way, hating it and wanting to ban it are not the same thing. They don't have to be the same thing. I don't like Alrund's Epiphany. I don't like it. I hate it in a way. I don't like playing against cards. It's boring. It's old at this point. But do I want it to be banned? Maybe, but it's still a maybe. It's still a maybe. It's not, those two things are not the same question. So let me know how you feel about it. Do you want it banned? Do you not want it banned? Do you want to wait till Crimson Vow? Do you think that now the World Championships are over, that it's time to ban it or not ban it? Right. There's a lot that plays into this. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get across here, is there's so much that plays into it, and there's no way I've been able to address it all in one video, no matter what your viewpoint is, right? So just let me know how you feel down there in a detailed comment. It doesn't even have to be detailed. Just be like, ban or no ban, one or the other. And you'll get across how you feel. But either way, do that. Let's get a dialogue started. Let's talk it out. I want to know more how we feel as a community about this. right? So get down there and sound off. But aside from that, like, subscribe, trying to get the sub count up to 350,000. We're at 123 right now. We are at 123,000. We're trying to get up to 350K, dog. So sub, do all that stuff. And then do all this if you want to. We play Magic over on Twitch. We have a lot of fun doing that. Believe me, we have a great time over there. And if you want, you can throw $1 a month in the Patreon pot, and that will let you choose what decks and videos and stuff we do around here in the first place. We vote on that thing. Again, I like democracy, so we vote on that kind of thing. Patrons do, at least. And also, if you submit to the Patreon now, it'll help pay for my puppy's surgery. I have a dog that he has congestive heart failure. I don't want to get too far into this because I'll break down. And it's also not why you came. It's not why you came. I'm sure that you clicked away already. It's just you didn't come here to get sad, so I'm sorry about that. But I am trying to pay for a dog's surgery right now, so it would mean a lot to me if you would join the Patreon or whatever. Sub on Twitch or whatever you do. You don't have to give me money. You absolutely don't. I'm just glad that you're here and you watch this much of the video because watch time matters. But I'm really, really trying hard to do something for my dog that will give him more life. Not necessarily, I don't want to talk about it. He won't live his normal lifespan like I want him to, but it will give him more time on Earth than he will have if he doesn't get it. And I would like him to get it. But anyway, that's it. I'm not going to go into detail about it. Because it's not why you came. You came for Magic the Gathering content. I hope I gave you enough of that for this video. But we got a deck tech coming up in the next couple of days. I'll be streaming on Twitch, very likely on Tuesday night. So come see me do that if you want to. And again, join the Patreon if you want to vote on stuff. Aside from that, I am donezo for this onezo. So I'll catch you cats later. I'm Depp from the place. Thanks for watching, Wizards. Spread love and be kind.